What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another Art of War tier list. I'm so excited. This is like my favorite thing to do. We're going to take every single faction in the game of Warhammer 40,000 9th edition as we know it, and then rank them based on how good they are in this wonderful tier list here.
We've done a couple of these, and I think this one's going to be dramatically different than the past couple that we've seen.
We just had a lot of new releases: Eldar, Harlequins, Eldarlequins, Tau, Custodes, GSC. A whole bunch of stuff has come out since the last time we did one of these tier lists, so I'm really excited for it.
Crusher Stampede has been dominant.
Crusher
Stampede. A lot has happened.
Forgot about that. So LVO happened. This guy became the champion of the world again.
Admech's still good.
Admech's, well,
as long as it's played by me.
Hey, okay.
How about that?
So real quick, I want to make sure we get this from the right perspective. So are we going to go based off win percentages, or are we going to pick some other criteria, or like assuming optimal play, or how do you want to approach this?
So I'm definitely about optimal play. If we're doing a competitive 40k tier list here, we're focused on competitive Warhammer. So this isn't, casual, it's not Crusade. We're focused specifically on match play, and match play played at the highest level. Yeah. So I think we take, if you play these armies to the best, if you, myself, John, any of the top players take this army, where can they bring it? Yeah. What are the best tools that this army has against some of the other ones that we're going to see in the faction tier list?
I completely agree. So let's take it from maximum potential, army played as if it was the LVO finals from the best players in the world. That's the kind of thing. And then like little other stuff like its place in the meta with respect to what other armies are doing well, or maybe a head-to-head matchup might come up. That might be like a tiebreaker for a certain position. But I think, largely speaking, this is just going to be cutthroat, tooth and nails, playing the best you can, best list you can. Let's go kill them.
Definitely. So we're going to need to talk about things like the skill ceiling and the skill floor of these armies, how easy it is to just pick it up and play it to a good level, whereas some of these armies like Admech have an insanely high skill cap. And so the better you are, there's a real dramatic difference between like the average Admech player and a really good one. So
I think that can hold true for most factions.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
we'll have to talk about that kind of nuance.
Definitely. As always, you can feel free to ask any questions during this video by super chatting if you're live. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment here if you're joining us in live chat right now. We'll interact with you. It'll be fun. Let's do it. I want to rank these armies. I'm an eager beaver. Also, let us know what you think. If you disagree with us, if you agree with me and not Siegs, especially, put that in the comments.
And then when you inevitably agree with me and not Nick, also put that in the comments and give us a like.
Well, do all of that. More comments, the merrier.
All right. Here we go. You ready for this?
No, we got a $5 super chat from Matt. Oh, we have to talk about that first.
Nick just slammed into my chair.
I hurt my elbow. It really hurt. I got my funny bone.
Not so funny.
It wasn't funny. I'm laughing to hide the pain. All right, guys. Before you get rolling, just curious if you have any thoughts on GW possibly restricting datasheets as a balancing method. They actually did this by creating the rule of 3. Long ago, before some of you played this game in 7th edition? No, 8th edition.
Yeah.
In early 8th and all the years prior, you could just take as much as what you wanted. They were literally competitive lists that were like 8 plus Hive Tyrants, 12 Plague Bridge Crawlers. It was wild.
Psychers. Yeah, it was
not fun. So I'm glad they put that in. They kind of did the same thing with limiting flyers to 0 to 2. I could totally see them going down. I would love to see them nerf and direct like hardcore to the core.
Yeah, maybe you have to have, you can only have 2 pieces of 2 units that ignore line of sight, something like that. But we'll see.
And
I don't mind them restricting line of sight, restricting the data sheets overall, because honestly, what they've done better than most previous editions is that the 40k armies right now actually look like the lore. Like my Admech veteran Scutari list, the different Space Marine builds that we see, now the Eldar list that we're seeing, those are all very fluffy. They might be exceptionally powerful, but they're very fluffy. So they've done a great job on that. What I'd rather see is these restrictions tailored towards continue making the armies that go on the top tables actually look like a competitive Warhammer army. That's really important for streaming and getting new players in.
Yeah, I completely agree. The armies looking really cool is a huge factor to it because it makes the game look more attractive. It's also a lot more fun to play. It makes you feel like you're playing with all the toys in your codex. It's cool.
Exactly. Like all these armies are mixed arms. They don't just do one thing. They don't take every piece of indirect fire and just shoot you across the board.
Well, you could.
Sorry, Imperial Frisk.
All right, let's get into it. We got our first number on the block. Space Marines. We lumped all the Space Marine chapters from Codex Space Marines into one big one. Don't worry, Blood Angel, Space Wolf, Dark Angel, and Deathwatch fans. We're still doing you individually because you get your own Codex. But for those of you Imperial Fist Iron Hands players, we're just going to lump you in with Space Marines so we don't have this whole tier list overrun. I think we should start with Space Marines because they're the baseline army. That's what GW starts with, right? First chapter. Where are you gonna put them, Seeks? Vanilla Marines.
Vanilla Marines right now. So this is like the Ultramarines and the White Scars. Those
YOLO
ones that have
White Scars.
YOLO White Scar.
Right.
Well, they probably would be in a totally different tier than the
Well, they're
White
S
Scars.
tier for sure. But, you know.
So Space Marines right now, they got some nerfs in the last chapter approved. The Dreadnought heavy builds, most of those went up like 10 or so points per Dreadnought. And then they didn't hit Vanguard vets again, but they had hit them previously. And so they didn't get like major nerfs, but their points did go up.
Space Marines have
they
a lot
get many buffs that were relevant.
For sure. They didn't really change the chapter proof. Space Marines largely haven't changed since their initial release on the edition, which means the game has just been changing around them while they're watching.
Yep.
And they have a ton of data sheets, so they can start taking Dreadnoughts or pivot away from Dreadnoughts and start taking Jump Marines, pivot away from those and start taking Primaris. You know, there's a lot of options here, but I feel like the Vanilla Marine Codex is probably B tier. It can play a game with most factions, maybe not scraping it up competitively with the highest highs, and it can certainly kick the lowest lows.
Yeah, its flexibility comes from the fact that it has so many rules available to it, especially when you add all those different supplements in, the Ultramarines, the White Scars, Salamanders, etc. When you add all those in, you can say, all right, hey, Eldar is a dominant force right now. I'm going to try and tailor my list based on this Space Marine subfaction and try and build into that way. So the benefit is they have a lot of rules, but their core data sheets just aren't that good, in my opinion. We see things like the Banshees that have come out, Ruststalkers. All those units are dramatically better than a standard Intercessor, and they're cheaper. And so I think Space Marines, because for a while they had been, kind of like an A-tier army, actually quite strong towards the top, and Games Workshop hit a couple of those better units. Now they are definitely a middling faction in my mind.
Yeah. They still have good rules, like White Scars advancing and charging everywhere, Iron Hands shoot really hard with character dreadnoughts and drop pods.
Yep.
They got good stuff going on, but so does everybody else these days.
Exactly. The armies that above have really good things.
Yeah.
So I think the edition, this is just the age of an edition. They were one of the first codexes, and now they are really showing their age compared to the newer books.
They'll get a new codex every 6 months anyway.
They haven't, though, which is interesting.
It's the year of Chaos Seeks.
They got the Phobos Space Marine Specialist attachment, and boy, is that terrible.
It's not terrible. Jack's gonna beat me with it, he keeps saying.
Okay. Well, if he beats me with it, that's just style points.
Then style points. Meme points here. He's beating my demons. Speaking of which.
I would put them in B.
Do we have? Wait, where's the chat? Where'd it go?
The chat is over here.
Oh, I want to see it. Okay.
Chat can stand over here.
Chat can stand over there. All right, we got the Drukhari. Drukharizzles.
Nope. You're a Chaos player, apparently? That's Abaddon.
That's Abaddon?
He's got the ponytail. Are you kidding me?
Drukhari players wear
Drukhari's
ponytails.
right there.
Oh, well.
That's the Cabalite.
How that looks like a Drukhari.
This is Abaddon. Are you kidding me?
I want a chat's opinion. It says this iconic picture looks like Abaddon or Drukhari. It's icon.
This is literally Abaddon, the Chaos Daddy. You're supposed to be a Chaos player?
Shush you. I want the chat's opinion. Don't want your opinion.
Nick hasn't been a Chaos player for 2 editions.
One of you played. I beat you with Chaos. Shut up. Just put him in, coach.
What about Metallica?
Abaddon's broken. Abaddon's S tier.
All right. So tell us about Chaos, where they are in the situation right now. Because I don't think it's good.
I don't think it's good either. Chaos. It's the year of Chaos, but it's not been very fruitful. I don't want to say they're the worst army in the game because that hurts my insides, but I'm struggling to come up with a worse one. Last time we had this tier ranking, we had Genestealer Cult and Tal, and they were like a healthily below Chaos. So we were like, yeah, Chaos isn't that bad. But now both of those have gotten some new rules.
You are also very hyped about your Red Corsairs build.
I did like my Red Corsairs, but that's the false everybody did bring them up a couple tiers. So maybe B tier. Low A tier.
So what does Chaos actually have going for it, if anything?
They have Death of False Everyone. That's an FAQ change that changed fairly recently, which gives you exploding 6s versus the game in close combat. It's like your mono-faction rule. Then you can stack that up with Prescience or other things like the Slaney Banners to give yourself exploding 5s. So that's really good against everybody. Basically, Chaos Space Marines play like a whole bunch of not durable at all combat missiles, and they have like mediocre shooting to help out. They don't really have durability because the rest of the game gained a wound. They didn't, so a little stucky on that front. So you're basically playing a whole bunch of trade war style. I hit you really hard, then you kill me 40k, which is okay, but a lot of armies do it better, unfortunately, because a lot of armies these days are faster and have more points efficient options. So Chaos is really showing their age because they were one of the first books released in 8th edition, and now we're like halfway through 9th. But
It's been a long while.
I do love my chaotic friends. Is anyone responding? Bring the chat closer. I need to read it.
They said it's Abaddon for sure.
It's not.
Abaddon owns the rights to the top knot. Look at that right there.
Man.
You are not a Chaos player apparently. Look at that.
Abaddon. They're talking about Imperial Guard down there.
Disagree with Nick. Yeah. All of that. See, love you, chat.
I really want to put him in C tier because I have a soft spot. Do you think that's too high?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't seen Chaos plays in a long time.
That's not relevant. No, actually, Chaos just got second at a tournament in the UK, I believe.
Oh, yeah?
I saw a post about it. It was like a really weird Emperor's Children charge you turn one kind of list.
I mean, I would say Emperor's Children is the best of them.
Yeah, and that's not Red Corsairs.
Because they still have double shooting Noise Marines, volume of fire. They can have Honor the Prince for reliable charges. Yeah. So that's, in my opinion, the best of them. But
do you think?
I don't think it compares to almost any of the stuff above it.
All right, put them in D tier.
Like Chaos is bad.
I'm sorry.
They're bad.
I'm sorry.
They need to stay at 1 wound in this meta. They needed to reduce the points cost of their stuff, and they just didn't. Like you're stuck here.
Still doesn't look like
here comes New Chosen Nick, and they have 1 wound. All right. How about that? That's Chaos.
Chaos is in D tier because that guy doesn't look like Abaddon.
They have like a couple good things, but that is not enough to carry an army, and the armies above them have just a serious advantage going into every match.
Their age is just there. They just need the rules.
Yeah, especially also Chaos hates indirect fire.
Oh, they can't even play with it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you had Noise Marines on the table, they're just all dead. They don't get to shoot because you're behind terrain.
Yeah. As far as their place in the meta goes, they're allergic to guns, and that's all that's on the top tier right now.
It's just guns all day. So
we've got Chaos Demons. You know how I feel about my splitting horrors.
Oh yeah, apparently they were A tier in the last faction.
Look,
right?
They have defeated Tyranids, Crusher Stampede even. They've beaten Crusher Stampede. That's like an A tier army, maybe. And then
when did you beat Crusher Stampede?
John and I played a practice game once.
Once upon a time?
It was actually on stream. It's a Worm game.
Oh, okay.
I forgot. Yeah. No, we pre-recorded it during the winter break, and then we set it up.
Was that your Bellicor build?
That was my no Bellicor's trash. It was my it was that thing that you shot up with all the Metallica people.
Okay, yeah.
It was that. But it's clearly, like, if you can punch up to Crusher Stampede, you're not that bad. B tier for Demons.
What's going on with Demons? What is actually good about the army?
Not much, but the things that they are good at, they are very good at. Splitting horrors in particular. You can basically just take an OBSEC unit and make it grow as you attack it. There's a limit to this, so if you get attacked too much, you'll run out of summoning points and then it just dies. But you can... Horrors are fairly tough with Warp Invul, being like a mass unit with Warp Invul. So unless your opponent is packing tons of anti-infantry, you're really hard to attack, and you can grow at weird times, like the morale phase, or at the end of your opponent's hitting you in close combat. So you can grow onto objectives and just rock away the primary. They're also very good at secondaries because you can build to the last into your army. You have a lot of good psychic options for all those ones. And then you're good. You got good primary game, you got good secondary game. Get Stranglehold. You're splitting horrors everywhere.
Yep.
So they don't do much from an army standpoint, damage-wise. They're one of the least damaging armies in 40k right now. It's very heartbreaking. But they can survive and steal objectives and win secondaries against some factions.
They also have a very good tool in the Contorted Epitome to prevent things from falling back, and this is pretty crucial to keeping your units alive that don't do very much.
Actually, that's true. Eldar and Tau both hate being trapped in combat. Maybe
Not
they're
anymore.
placed in the meta.
Not anymore.
What do you? Oh.
Tau's shooting to combat.
Yeah, and Eldar will just kill you. But still, in theory, it helps being able to trap them in combat. So, B tier?
No.
Come on.
B tier?
Come on. They're better than Guard.
They are better than Guard. You think Guard is going to be in B tier?
No, I think Guard is C tier.
Do you think they're better than Marines or below Marines?
No, they're below Marines. But I think they could beat Marines. I don't think they should.
I think they're distinctly C tier. I think they're better than Chaos Space Marines. I also don't think Bellicor is total trash either. I think you could actually run...
So run Bellicor and B. Bellicor for B.
No. But he's like, they have good rules. This problem is all the data sheets are terrible.
All the data sheets are terrible, except for splitting hard. That's all you need.
So if they upgrade the data sheets when these factions finally get codexes, Chaos Space Marines and Demons, I think Bellicor will be up, closer up here.
Yeah.
But right now, I just don't think they have a lot going. They have a Monster Mash build that used to be relatively decent, like a bunch of keepers, that type of stuff. It's just the guns in the game will just obliterate all of that.
Yeah.
And the move blocking tools that armies have now, ability to just shoot and then move on a lot of factions, you're just not getting across the table anymore. So I think I think Demons are in C tier, in my opinion. I think they're better than Chaos Space Marines for sure.
Is the logo blocking my head?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That's just that happens at the end of the video. Yeah.
All right. Custodes. I have an interesting take on this one because I think the whole world expects me to put this in S tier, and I think they're A tier. I think they have time and time again proven that they suck into Tau. Not to say they're incapable of beating Tau, but I think Tau played optimally versus Custodes played optimally, just trounces Custodes. And then I don't think they have good matchups into Eldar and Harlequins, which we will certainly get to. And then they are like 50-50 into Crusher Stampede. This doesn't sound S tier to me. Does it sound S tier to you?
I mean, they have a 70% win rate, and they are dominating almost every matchup, besides the couple that you mentioned. So I think they are absolutely in S tier. I think they are too strong. I think they have broken mechanics in that their strats are too cheap, and then they have a couple units that are too cheap, specifically Trajan.
All right, but I hear what you're saying. Like I said, the whole world expects me to put him in S tier. All the points you just made are totally valid. But remember, we're not counting in win rate because I think Custodes' win rate is hugely inflated by the fact that they're so easy to play.
I think that goes into it. That's what part of them being, their rules are so easy and their skill floor is so high that you can pick up this game and beat most factions with a simple base Custodes army.
But that's not the criteria. The
No,
criteria
that's
is
what
maximum potential. I think their maximum potential still loses to the best armies, which we will get to.
It might lose to them. I still think it's S tier because it's dramatically better than all the stuff below here. It'll be bottom of the S in my opinion.
So in my brain, Custodes and Crusher are like even. They're both like monkey armies that just run forward and kill people. Sorry, Custodes and Crusher players are just really good. And they're going to invalidate a lot of the armies below them, and they can't punch up that well.
Well, we don't have the other armies up there. I think.
All right, we can rearrange it. Put them in S.
Put them in S. They have enough rules to be in S, and then you're powerful enough to be up there. So I think we put them here, and then we can see when we start adding other armies up in this area, because they are 100% better than the armies in A tier.
It's a sizable gap between Custodes and Marines, so that's for sure. Dark Angels are like Marines.
Remember when Dark Angels came out and we were like, wow, permanent transhuman and all this stuff? This is broken. Yeah, and then Games Workshop was like, hold on, here's Drukhari and then Admech, and then we're just going to keep going.
I think Dark Angels are better than... I don't think they're better than White Scars. Do you think they're better than regular Space Marines? I think they're in B tier.
I think their lack of speed...
they have Ravenwing.
They have Ravenwing, but it did get nerfed with some points increases. Yeah. And... like Ravenwing is fine, but the problem is all those elite models, they die to everything now. They're never getting anywhere close to their points value.
I think Ravenwing are too easy to kill for the top armies because Tau don't care about any of the rules.
No, it's like, oh, cool. Shield drones, tanked your multi-meltas, everything's dead.
Yeah, and then like Deathwing just are too slow to compete. So I think B tier below Space Marines.
I think they're definitely better than Chaos, but what does this army do well? It still has Talon Masters being bodyguarded, and that's very good, but Talon Masters, they don't even shoot as hard as some of the stuff up here anymore.
Dark Angels can totally win GTs and stuff. I would struggle, maybe not, but I don't think it'd be easy to win a GT with Chaos Demons. It wouldn't be easy. Impossible, maybe.
One of the things that you might say is better is that Dark Angels have two of the best Space Marine secondaries. They have both the Ravenwing one and the Stubborn Defiance. I just sit on this objective and score my points. So they can play that to the last non-interactive style, which is a way to play.
Didn't they nerf it that you can't stack that with Oath? Or is that not nerfed?
What do you mean you can't stack that with?
Well, if you can take Stubborn Defiance and Oath the moment, then your secondary game is good.
No, but
if you can just get one Codex secondary, you already had a good Codex secondary.
You're only going to be running one of them, but it's still pretty good. Like that
Stubborn
is a great
Defiance, Oath,
a secondary where you don't have to do anything is very good.
That's true.
Where you get 15 points out of it. That's true. So that is probably their best thing. Their data sheets, like I said, Marine data sheets are just showing their age, but they do have a good rule. Transhuman is very good. The problem is volume of fire exists in this area up here. So, are they better than White Scars? I think the speed...
YOLO White Scars?
I think the speed of White Scars is still a little bit stronger, but I think Dark Angels are close.
Yeah, okay, I agree. I think that's fine. Moving on to Tau, the Fish Warriors, D tier, get them out of here.
They used to be all the way at the bottom, and boy, have they risen from the ashes, Nick. The Tau are back. This army, the codex that they got is probably the best codex they've ever received. The internal balance of it is amazing. If you want to check it out, go head over to our faction tier list that we did for Tau, where it was a nice balance between all the different tiers. Most of the Forge World stuff is down in terrible, but almost everything else was above that. So the Codex, they did a great job on this. What does this army do well? Well, it shoots insanely hard, and it has a ton of efficiency buffs now. There's rerolls all over the place. There's volume of fire. There's good indirect fire and airburst and SMS. Airburst in particular, because it can get a lot of the core buffs. All the commanders were upgraded, and that was one of the best units that Tau had previously, because they got some really good datasheet abilities to give out to crisis units. And on top of that, Tau's secondary game didn't change. Even though they don't have the best faction-specific secondaries, they already had a great secondary game with their 8th edition codex in 9th, and nothing about the codex changed that. They still have great mission playing tools and stealth suits, Vespid. So with Tau, you can sit there, take Engage or Stranglehold to the last on your big crisis units and commanders, and then you can take Retrieve Nachman data or banners and just play a very defensive, I'm going to score a lot of secondary points, force your opponent to interact. They also have amazingly cheap units in Kroot that pre-game move and are very fast and can screen effectively, hold down objectives very cheaply, and just play the mission for you. So this army is great. As you can see, it has a win rate very close to Custodes, and if you've watched any of our streams, I have smashed Custodes every single time I played them, which is what Nick was talking about with max potential. I think Tau are better than Custodes.
Yeah, 100% for me.
I
know what the win rates say. I know the GT's out there going. I'm saying I live in this house with Siegs and Jack and John and them, and Siegs has been smashing the Custodes. And also, Tau have been crushing GTs, too, over Custodes. Oh, yeah. It's not like...
And the thing is, it's multiple builds. We've seen Triple Storm Surge do very well. We've seen the Foresight Enclave's Crisis-heavy style that I like. We've also seen the very balanced Tau set, where you have a couple broadsides, a couple Crisis suits, some Preachers and Devilfish. There's a lot of different builds that are all very strong, and the synergies in this book are amazingly powerful when you put them all together.
Yeah.
So, Tau are exceptionally strong.
All right, so then we got Imperial Guard, another exceptionally strong army. Got its brand new 9th edition codex. It's got all these updated rules, amazing data sheets. Its las cannons do 25 damage per shot, straight into D tier. Like right there.
So guards still shoot a lot. If you just walk out in front of a guard army with triple demolisher tank commanders, they got their Manticores, and then they have Melta and Plasma coming in from reserve from those veteran squads, they can still do a lot of damage to you. The problem is they are paper thin. All the guns in the game pretty much just kill them. And then their mission play is horrendously difficult because you have to be aware of your opponent trying to wrap your units in combat, and then you don't get to, only one unit can fall back, so you have to prevent multiple things from getting wrapped. The speed of the game, with the shorter board size, you can just get on top of a guard army very quickly, and once you kill their board control, a bunch of tanks are going to keep shooting you into oblivion, but that's it. They're not scoring you points.
They also supremely lack the fly keyword. I'm not counting Valkyries and Vendettas and things like that. Like, they don't have any sort of ability to deep strike effectively. Scions are okay. They're pretty good, actually, at deep striking, but, it doesn't do anything. It's a whole bunch of nothing in this army.
The things that they're
just outdated.
They are very outdated at this point. They still... full payload Manticores are still one of the better indirect platforms in the game. But they're inconsistent because they hit on 4s, although you can buff it in different ways.
I have no real combat options. Bowgun are passable, I suppose.
That is a counter assault is just non-existent. If they had good counter assault,
yeah,
you could push up a big conscript blob and then counter assault into whatever tries to trap them.
They actually do have powerful indirect fire. They have powerful direct fire, really powerful direct fire. Their ballistic skill is trash, so that sucks. But maybe they can update that in the new codex a little bit, because then hit modifiers kind of closer to Tau. And then give them some counter assault, and you got a good army on your hands.
Yeah, they still have some move is still a great order,
move is great.
Their secondary game is just very difficult, and their ability to play the primary, it's hard.
Yeah, a lot of people I see talk about on the forums and stuff about move and just spam infantry squads and just stand on the objectives of primary. You literally are just going to die doing that. Things are too potent. Back in 8th edition, you could put 100 guardsmen on table. You could move them around. That would be a lot of guardsmen to chew through over 5 turns. But nowadays, 100 guardsmen is going to last you 15 minutes. It's just not what it used to be. You need to use terrain effectively, and if the objectives are not in terrain or if you get charged, you're just dying or getting wrapped.
Yeah, I mean, a great example, because we're talking about playing this at the highest skill cap, is there was a stream game with John playing the guard and Jack playing Black Templars, and Jack literally walked his army out into the open against the full guard army and just soak that firepower. He lost a bunch of stuff, but then he finally got into combat, and that was it.
500 points of Black Templars
So it's just
turn it around.
killed everything.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think? I think they're worse than Chaos Demons, and I think they're better than Chaos Space Marines.
I think they're worse than Chaos Space Marines.
The reason I'm saying...
I think they're the worst army in the game.
Okay, I was going to say Chaos Space Marines are, but you know what? I like Chaos Space Marines.
At least they have tricks. At least Chaos has tricks.
They do.
Like, Emperor's Children is just better than this.
I was going to give it to Guard, because Guard would beat them in a head-to-head, because Vengeance of Cadia is a stupid power.
Vengeance for Cadia is great, but I feel like the ability... At least Chaos can ally in Demons. You can get the Epitome and
well, I mean, Guard could ally in Custodes.
Sure, but at the same time, that's...
Let's put Guard in D tier. I don't know. Yeah.
They're bad.
They're bad. Okay.
They're bad. They're really bad. They got a decent secondary, but it's just not even close to enough.
Looks like we got a super chat from Brandon Carver. I will cry if Custodes get nerfed before Tau/Elves. Well, unfortunately, they came out first, but hopefully Tau and Elves get nerfed yesterday. Yeah.
Well, we'll get to them. We'll get to that at the end.
But Tau we already got to.
Well, like the recap overall.
I'll recap you.
Why don't you recap GSC here?
I'll recap GSC. So GSC, my four-armed friends, I've had quite an adventure with them. I picked them up maybe a month after they got their new codex, re-picked them up. I was a big GSC guy in ETH. And then, new lease on life with the new codex. I'm like feeling good. I took him to a GT. I won the GT. It was the Melee at Shiloh, awesome tournament. I then came back to the stream house and I was like, Siegs, get on the table. And I slapped his towel around a little bit. That was a really close game. Some may even say I lost, but who knows. Then we got this new book. It's called Eldar/Harlequins, and they pose this new problem saying you can't charge warp spiders, you can't deep strike with intercept, and indirect is brutal. So Tau is a tough road to climb. Eldar and Harlequins are a tough road to climb. Custodes are actually quite beatable, I found, but it's not. I refined my ability to play the optimal play Siege. Custodes are actually quite beatable, but of course they're hard because of Custodes. And then everything kind of below that is fairly... Every game's going to be hard. GC is an incredibly hard army to play, but it's a doable task. I think they're an A-tier army. I think they're better than like Space Marines. They can lose to Space Marines, but they could also lose to Guard. Like they're a very finesse army. But I think they're not quite punching around with Tau. They can punch up and beat Tau if you're a better player and you make clever moves and the Tau player doesn't understand your army. I've done that to people. But, if I play Siegs GSC versus Tau, he's going to win most of them. Not all of them, though. One of them I'll win.
Yeah, you think? All right, how many games do you think you need?
Just one. That's where we're at. One.
Is that the time you failed a 7-inch charge and got tabled?
No, it's not it's not that time.
All right. I also think GSC are quite strong. I think the rule set that they got is there's nothing broken about the GSC rule set. I don't think there's anything that needs to be nerfed about this army. But baseline, they've got very good mission play in terms of secondaries. They've got great retrieve enactment data. They can do engage super easily or stranglehold. They have some decent tanks and transports, so they can actually do a decent job of protecting themselves from indirect fire, at least in the early turns, because you use reserves on the other stuff. They've got reliable charges at a deep strike. They can do a lot of turn-off Overwatch, fight last in multiple places, which is very powerful for a combat army. Now, they are paper thin, and it can be difficult to hold down primary, but I believe that the army can put enough pressure on. That's how it's scoring primary, and especially if you add in more trucks and the rock grinders, it becomes a little easier with a character also nearby to hold down your primary in the early game.
I think the builds for GSC are changing a lot. I'm now moving more towards a mech build myself, but I think I'm actually going to show them off on YouTube next week for all you GSC fans.
Awesome.
Against you. You would know that if you read the schedule.
What am I playing?
You're playing Necrons, your favorite robot people.
I am happy to keep playing Necrons.
I'm happy to keep killing robots. I'm going to take Secret to TTL.
Secret TTL?
Yeah.
It's broken.
All
right. I think A tier?
A tier.
Okay.
Healthy A tier. Deathwatch! Watchers of Death.
You were hyped on Deathwatch last year, and
Deathwatch.
That has completely fallen off.
It's not completely
even
fallen
after they got an army of renown.
No, I'm still hyped on them. I'm hyped on a lot of things right now. All my books are getting rules these days.
Tell us about Deathwatch.
Deathwatch are a lovely army. They're most flexible of the Space Marines while also being the most rigid. Such a strange combination. I think they are still limited in the fact that they're Space Marines by datasheet, so it's hard to get out of B tier for them right now. But if I was going to pick a Space Marine army that could get out of B tier, I would pick Deathwatch. A lot of the meta right now has the fly keyword, Tau and Eldar and Harlequins. Deathwatch are really, really good at killing the fly keyword. They have a relic of +1 to hit first hit. They pick a data sheet and they reroll wounds against it. I would like to pick Crisis Suit. I would like to pick Void Weaver. And then just start rerolling wounds. Harlequins and Tau and they don't have defenses against reroll. They're definitely going to struggle with Custodes. Custodes have a great matchup in the Space Marines because Custodes just have 1 CP ignore rerolls, and Space Marines are like, wait, all of my rules are rerolls. So that's just going to be tough. But I think Deathwatch, if there was going to be a Space Marine army that goes into A tier, I think it'd be Deathwatch.
I don't think they're A tier, but I think they're better than the base Space Marines.
I'll buy it.
I think they're just a little too expensive. You just don't have enough stuff. That's what I've found. Yeah. And their secondary game isn't consistent enough because being in the middle against these armies is just brutal.
Yeah.
To try and survive for Oath of Moment points.
Just getting charged.
But I do think Deathwatch have the best toolkit overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, all those rules are extremely powerful. Now, some of them can be turned off by Custodes, but even still, like one bad matchup, I think they can play into the armies up here and not get horrendously killed. Like you'll be in a game. That big brick of Primaris Marines with the Feel No Pain and everything, that is still not easy to deal with. Transhuman on it.
Yeah.
So, and they have very good psychic discipline as well. So you can take a psyker and do some of the mental interrogation, which is much improved.
Yeah.
So I think they're better than
I think they're
Marines
better than Space Marines too. I could see an argument for A tier because I think they can beat the armies in A tier. I think they can even beat the armies in S tier if you're better than your opponent. But upper B, I think it's fine.
I think it's an uphill battle though.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Imperial and Chaos Knights.
We lumped these together because they kind of play very similarly. I know they got a lot of good rules compared to before. They now count as OBSEC, they count as tons of models, they got good stats. So, a few months ago, I think they could have been a real contender. But Tau will just kill them. Tau don't give a crap. They will just... just like that. Eldar will also just kill them. Once again, they don't give a crap.
Jinx and Doom is brutal.
Yeah.
Knights don't want any of that.
And if you do Hail of Doom, 6 is auto wound. Their Void Weavers are stupid. Although not amazing into Knights. Knights are okay back at them. But I don't know. I think Eldar and Harlequins or something. GSC would probably have a fun game with Knights. I played that. It was a draw against Blake Law from Unbroken. I think if we're doing maximum potential GSC, it's much higher than maximum potential Knights, though. So.
Yeah, Knights are limited by their data sheets and the current rules that they have, which are 8th edition by and large.
I think they would have a relatively good game with most Space Marine factions, so probably put them in B tier somewhere.
How do you feel against the other Space Marine builds? I think Knights are actually quite strong into Space Marines.
They could be. So while Deathwatch rerolls wounds against the Knight data sheet, that's got to be bad for Knights.
Yeah.
And then Vanilla Marines typically do struggle versus Knight armies, so it could go in between those two. Interestingly, Dark Angels I think are fine versus Knights. They're made of Thunderhammers and Multi-Meltas, so that's just going to kill the Knights.
True, but the range game, you can do a little bit,
Oh, that's not a thing. Knights players...
John just sits in his deployment zone.
John kills me. John's up in my face just stepping on my
Well, he
Dark
kills you first, then he gets in your face and finishes you off.
I don't know. I think putting them ahead of Vanilla Marines behind Deathwatch, I think that is probably where I'd put them.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think Chaos Knights are very close, even though Imperial Knights got the nerf on the Megara, and then they got the Castellans buffed. I still think they're pretty close to Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights focus primarily on the Morax spam, so a lot of small individual units and maybe one big knight, and they have the ability to get extra damage on there, so they put out a lot of volume of fire with extra damage, and it's great to have a lot of extra resources just floating around.
Yeah.
But giving up bring it down points means you're giving up a full secondary, and your secondary game still isn't that great. You need to survive on the primary to have an advantage there now that they're OBSEC, but it's still very difficult against these top armies.
So is this Abaddon?
No.
I think this guy's Abaddon.
The Cabalite.
Cabalite Warrior.
Drukhari.
Look like a Cabalite Warrior to you?
Drukhari were up here.
Drukhari used to be S tier. I'm going to say used to be. They have, I don't know any idea what their win rate is these days, but they've gotten hit with a nerf bet 4 times now. And I still think they're a competitive army, although they have their nerfs are showing. They really are a far cry from what they were last year this time.
Yeah, the most recent one being they lost the -1 damage against Strength 8 or higher, and then the Talos and Kronos lost core.
Yeah, like they They've nerfed every section of that book at this point. So
they needed to.
They needed to.
They didn't nerf Power from Pain, which is important.
Well, that's at this point the only thing holding them up is Advance in Charge. You take that away, and like, what do we have left?
Yeah.
So I think Drukhari are firmly in A tier. I think they struggle horrendously with Tau. I think they can beat Custodes. That's kind of hard, but they can do it. I think they will struggle versus Eldar and Harlequins, and I think GSC can play a game with them. I still think they'll run right over Space Marines a lot of the time.
Yeah, they will.
I think they just belong in A tier.
They are still super strong. Army-wide Advance and Charge turn 2, the +1 to hit the following turn, the grenade, the ability to get those abilities earlier is essential. And it's not like any of the units are poor now. They're just a little less efficient, the ones that got points increases.
Right. But you can see it, like Anthony Vanilla, top-ranked Drukhari player from last season, one of the world's best players on WTC for Team America. Art of War coach went 4-2 at the Cherokee Open with Drukhari, then fully nerfed Drukhari, losing to Tau and Custodes. You know, it's just not an S-tier army anymore.
I don't think Drukhari's broken. I think they found a nice balance where it's still a strong army. It's still one of the better armies in the game, but it's not... You have a game into it.
Absolutely.
So I do think they're better than GSC.
My four-armed friends.
I think they are still better than GSC.
My four-armed friends.
Like, this army is still very good. If you underestimate Drukhari, they still show up and knock down all your primary points and kill you.
I'll use my four-armed friends to show you differently. Where would you put your Necron robot friends?
All right, so Necrons, they have got a lot of things that have improved in the past couple months. So first of all, the data balance slate, that did a lot for them. So it gave out core to a lot of the units. Necrons were one of the books where only a handful of units had core, and so most of the rules that interacted with core only focused on basically warriors, because most of the other ones were pretty garbage anyway. So, what did change? Well, Wraiths, Scorpec Destroyers, the regular destroyers, they all gain core, so they can get easy pluses to hit, they can get the rerolls from the Silent King, all that's great. In addition, they got points decreases on units like Flayed Ones, which went from 13 points to 10, and now I think they're a very competitive choice. Things like Scorpec Destroyers went down 5 points, 35 to 30, that's a great buff. The Silent King himself went down 30 points. So they got some nice buffs. They still have a lot of overcosted data sheets and data sheets that just don't do anything, like all the big models. But they are much improved. And if you've seen the past couple weeks, I've been playing them on the Art of War streams, especially in the War Room, trying to get reps with my Silent King Novak build that I really loved playing last year. And they've been doing good. They had a great game into Drukhari.
Yeah.
They've had some other good games, not into Eldar, and there's nothing broken about Necrons. They still have weaknesses. But
Sieg's 5s are broken.
But
it's an army that allows Siegs to roll 5s.
They love the 5s.
I benefit from it.
I think they are actually better than Space Marines now. I think they were pretty close to Space Marines, a little bit below. But after these two changes, I think they are above Space Marines now. I think they still have a very good secondary game, depending on which build you're taking. Either they have a lot of OBSEC with the Custom Dynasty, and so they play the primary very well and have that pre-game move to get on top of you early, but trade a little bit of damage for that. Or they play the Novak style, in which they do a lot of damage if you get close to them, and they have so many different trading pieces now that it's very hard, especially when they have Silent King rerolls, to even trade efficiently into them. They've got heroic shenanigans, fight last. It's just a very good combat army, and the ability to regen models punishes you for whittling them down.
I genuinely agree. I think Necrons can beat both of the armies we put in A tier right now. Necrons versus GC we're going to put on YouTube for you next week because we thought it's a good game. And then Drukhari, I've literally had challenging games to you with my pre-nerf Drukhari because I don't have activations that kill 20
There's like a
warriors in
2-point game with the Drukhari that we played.
Like, it's such a unique problem that MSU armies will face into Necrons, but Eldar and Harlequins and Drukhari are all hyper MSU. Now, you have a big problem to Tau, because Tau is just like, here's my blast keyword. And you're like, oh no, my army.
And if you watch the YouTube game against Necrons into the Aeldari, I have a big problem with Aeldari too, because I can't kill any of their stuff. They just go and hide after they do damage to me. So
you're certainly getting kicked around by S tier, but I think you can hang with A tier, and I think you play games with Space Marines. Do you think you're favored in Space Marines?
I think Necrons are favored. Deathwatch would probably be pretty interesting. Deathwatch have a lot of rules that are very strong into Necron, but they don't want to get that close to you on good terrain.
Right.
Like, this Necron army if you watch the War Room game, I took up a really nice defensive position in the middle of the table and forced Nick, hey, you got to deal with a lot of stuff all at once hitting you next turn, or you have to kind of try and deal with me in piecemeal. And that's a hard decision to make. So I think armies that want to stay back, like Deathwatch, might struggle on the mission against Necrons.
Yeah, I'll put them in A tier.
All right.
Let's
Where do you put them relative to GSC?
I want to play the game on Wednesday and find out.
What's your impression?
I think it's going to be hard because GSC also don't kill 20 warriors in one activation with any guaranteedness. I'm also not great at trading into you, but I have advantages because I have like 100 different fight lasts in my army, and I can actually kill the Silent King, which we might.
I can't wait.
Might watch me try.
I can't wait for Siegs, the 4-ups, please. It's gonna happen.
You just waited me.
No, you got to do it for chat. Put all your damage into the Silent King.
Just try to kill him. I'm gonna go for it. For your chat. See, I don't know. I think GSC, Deathwatch, and Necrons are all kind of even versus each other.
All right, I'm willing to put Necrons here, and then we can see based on the game.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay. What is this? This is Thousand Suns?
This is Thousand Suns. Now,
like a World Eater.
Tell us about Thousand Suns.
Thousand Suns I actually have a lot of positive things to say about Thousand Suns, contrary to someone's belief. Thousand Suns, I had a little fling with them a few months back. It was fun. It was good. I enjoyed the army. I think they're really fun to play. I like their style. Really janky, really tough. I like it. Tzeentch. They struggle a lot with the combat phase because all of their rules that matter, like all is dust, is pretty much versus 1 damage stuff. And that's like infantry level shooting in the shooting phase and infantry level punching in the combat phase. Well, no one takes infantry for combat like that. They take infantry with big swords that do 2 damage and 3 damage. So that sucks. And then you can do -1 damage as a strat, but that only works in shooting and only for 1 unit. So we're very, very vulnerable to combat. That's a very dangerous place to be when the meta was GSC and Drukhari and Custodes fairly recently in the past. However, we moved up in the world. Now the meta is shooting. Tau is really strong. And I don't want to say Thousand Suns can like hang with Tau because like Rob Howard, they can't. But they might be able to durability their way through Tau. They might be able to durability their way through Shuriken spam Eldar because that you actually get the bonus to your save. That said, they still lose to combat armies, and the entirety of A tier is all combat armies. I think Thousand Suns belong in B tier with all these Space Marine friends. I think they're about as good as Dark Angels.
I've played against Thousand. I haven't played many games against Thousand Suns. It's not an army that's that popular at the top tables.
Right.
It's kind of like those loyal, diehard Chaos fans who are just gonna persevere. I'm gonna just keep playing this. Like you said, they have some very good data sheets. I think Scarab Cult Terminators are quite strong.
They're on 30 right now.
Basic rubrics are not bad. They're not like amazing, but they're fine. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're psychers. The Cabal points is really strong. I think that is a great mechanic for Thousand Suns. The reliability of their casting means you can pre-plan your psychic phase and guarantee that certain plays are going to go off. Is it as powerful as something like Fate Dice? No. But man, is it actually pretty useful for them. Yeah. I think it's a much better Thousand Suns book than the 8th edition version. However, their lack of speed is just brutal, and I think the change to where you can only take the one sub-faction now has hurt them because you can't take 2 different cults.
True.
They used to be taking the cult of, what was it, the cult of time and
Cult of Time, Duplicity.
And Duplicity. So
Duplicality.
It's the same thing with Grey Knights losing 2 different kind of... None of them are that amazing where you just want to take that only that cult. You wanted to kind of mix so that you could take 2 different really good rules that were split up. So I think that also hurts them. What are you feeling?
I still think they're better than C tier. I think they're like bottom B.
You think they're worse than Dark Angels and Basic Space Marines?
Because I think when we're going to get to Death Guard, we're going to put Death Guard in C tier, not to ruin the fun. And I think they are better than Death Guard.
I think 100% they're better than Death Guard.
So I put them B.
So Dark Angels, Space Marines, worse than them?
I would say worse than them.
Okay.
Right there. It's good. Sisters of Battle. I like Sisters. I think Sisters can hang with a lot of factions. They got a lot of stuff going on. I like the stuff John's doing with this MSU Bloody Rose. I know he's excited to try some Valorous Heart in chat. Or we got some super chats in chat. That's looking over.
Oh, yeah, I'll get to them after you.
Yeah, sure. So we got Sisters. I'm a big fan of. I think the Volstein combo with the Bodyguards might actually be good right now. Because it's anti-shooting and the meta is very shooting based, but indirect fire is brutal for them. And it's also a very indirect fire heavy meta. So with that said, I think Sisters are like firmly in A tier, and I think they are in the same category of like Necrons, GSC, Sisters. If anything, I think Sisters are ahead of GSC, just because they are such a good army to fight GSC with. And we just watched John B. Quinton's Dark Eldar, so like that's totally doable.
Yeah, and John's the high, he shows the height that Sisters can reach when you play it as well as he does.
Yeah, for sure. I think between Drukhari, GSC, Necrons, and in that sandwich.
So the Exorcist is an amazing tool now.
Solo Exorcist, who coined that?
Props when, all right, you give me props when I come up with the tech choices. I give you props. That's a good call. The 2CP strat, you're not using it all the time. Often you're just getting angles, and there's not too many armies that have like dramatically long range anti-tank now. Iron Striders have kind of fallen off the meta. You have broadsides, which you'll have to worry about, but you can pick angles and be like, all right, the broadsides, maybe you'll move block them with a Rhino or something, so they can't get and shoot at your Exorcist. But it's a to the last, and that 2CP ignore line of sight. It just means you can threaten to do plays. So as you saw, John was like, oh, you have Hellions back there? Well, I'm going to find an angle with this unit to shoot away at one Hellion unit and then indirect into the other one and just cripple both of your like key fast-moving elements. So you can either go after their mission play, you can go after like try and whittle down a key element back there. This is massive into an army like Eldar, which is just going to do damage to you and then fall back. And
it gives them play.
It gives them play. So I definitely think they're one of the stronger armies up there. I think they're stronger than Necrons just because they have more trading pieces. The Necrons,
they're more trading. They hit hard enough.
Their army-wide rules are just better than what Necrons have, which is why I think it's okay to put them below GSC, because I think GSC's army-wide rules are stronger.
I think I was going to put them ahead of GSC, and that's because I think Sisters can actually just pretty much smack GSC around. In my experience.
Oh no, I meant Necrons.
Yeah. Yes.
I think this makes sense, and I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I would put them here just because they are much harder to play than Drukhari, in my opinion.
Right.
So when you're talking about, you're a tournament, somebody who's going to a GT to win, they are much more likely to pick up Drukhari if they want to win than Sisters of Battle. Sisters are a much harder army to play, but I think they have a very high skill cap. That's high like Drukhari is.
I agree with that.
I think there's a couple missions that are a little tougher for Sisters. Really? John happened to play on one of them, which is 5 objectives out in the open.
Yeah.
Bodyguard helps tremendously here, but
that's a tough mission for a lot of armies, though.
For a lot of armies. So Sisters typically want, well-defended objectives that they can kind of string out to. You can have one objective's bodyguarded over here, and then you have like a Rhino and the character on another one. Where the objectives are all out in the open, it's actually hard for them to keep up in the primary game. So,
I agree.
Also that mission, I believe you can't pregame move.
Right.
So
Sisters do a lot of that too.
So there's a couple missions, and the missions are so much different now that a couple armies are like, no, I don't want any of that. Because last night we played a game where it was mission 22, Conversion, where you need your Warlord alive to get command points.
Yeah.
And all those armies that build in this crazy Warlord like Drazar who wants to go swinging and killing stuff, you're like, I have a great play on turn 2 where I could send him in, but then he's going to die and I'm not going to get 3 CP
it was a real... I had an awesome move for my Harlequin Shootmaster. This guy's got like 7 Warlord traits and relics. He's got so many words to throw at Siegs, and it's like, wow. Do I throw 4 command points away to use this guy on turn 3? Turn 2?
It's just interesting. There's certain tech things that have been built in the last year that now you have to kind of question on the new missions. So something to keep in mind with these. But I think this is a good spot for Sisters.
Yeah.
I still think they are quite strong.
So then we've got the Adeptus Mechanicus. All right, Siegs, lay it down.
Forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are the reigning ITC champions. Lord of Mars himself is here. Yes. This army received several nerfs.
1 and 2.
So they lost core and Iron Striders. They got points increases all over the place, much more than Drukhari got.
Deservedly so.
And they got, significant ones like Cerberus Raiders going up 4 points per model, Ruststalkers Infiltrators going up 2. Now, they are still a strong army in my opinion. They still have very good tools. They have the very defensive Ranger Brick or Vanguard Brick, whatever you want. They have Cerberus Raiders, which is a great tool to prevent some of these combat armies from being able to do damage to you. Just delaying them, slowing the game down. Admech is very good at that. With Metallica, you have abilities to have the movement of things, turn off Overwatch. Because they have multiple very good Forge Worlds, they can have a lot of flexibility in the types of lists you want to run. Now, you can't mix them anymore, and that is a hit to that Lucius Mars style. But at the end of the day, Pure Mars, Lucius, pretty much all the Forge World, like the main ones, Metallica, all of those run pure in a veteran cohort are still very strong, in my opinion. Right. You get different things. One focuses more on defense, one is more about the shooting offense, and then the other one is kind of like a all-around toolkit. with the leadership shenanigans that Nick loves. So I still think AdMech is very strong. I think they have the tools to compete with the armies up here. What's your impression of the AdMech?
I think they're... I completely agree. You just won LVO with them. Nothing has really changed them since then, except for Tau coming out and Eldar coming out.
I think they're both problems.
I think they're both big problems for you. That style of list that you like to play with that does really well relies on hiding behind line of sight blocking terrain.
Yep.
And Tau and Eldar don't care about that.
I have a bunch of T3 bodies with poor armor saves. A bunch of AP2 indirect that ignores cover is not what I want.
Yeah, it's like playing 40k with like no ruins. You know, just have fun.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm out in the open. I hope. I feel like against those armies, you really need to go first. Like going first, I can put enough pressure. I won't lose enough that I hit them turn 2. But it feels very much like when the Orc Buggy spam list was there, and we put that in the war room. I got tabled. John got tabled with his sisters. It was just not. It was not fun. So
I think they're the best army in A tier.
You think if we're taking highest skill cap?
Highest skill cap.
Because right now AdMech have like a 38% win rate, 40 something.
Oh, but that's
I'm
different.
No, I'm just saying. So like publicly,
yes.
When you see the AdMech, they aren't actually doing very well. They're not placing anymore. You rarely see them. But if you're talking just me,
just Seeks,
the
only one,
you would put them above Drukhari?
Yeah, you kicked my ass how many times?
Remember the time you got 0 in Vital Intelligence on Primary? An unheard of thing for Drukhari?
Remember that time I was your only super major loss ever?
So, AdMech, I agree. I still think they are better than these armies if they're played to the highest potential, which is the veteran cohort style. Now, if you just pick up the base AdMech Codex without the veteran cohort, I think they are significantly worse. But with the veteran cohort and with being able to get a lot of reps with that army, which is what it takes, I think it has all the tools to beat these armies.
Yeah, I agree.
On a consistent basis. These armies up here, it struggles against.
Yeah, you can beat them if you play well, if you get lucky, if you get your way, but
it's not easy.
Not easy. Not consistent, not easy.
I think Custodes is the easiest. I obviously played against 2 Custodes players, and neither game was easy.
Yeah.
But I was able to do enough damage based solely on the fact that the Ruststalkers are awesome.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have Ruststalkers, then I would have just got run over by Custodes. But Tau and Eldar provide different problems, and indirect fire is just brutal for AdMech.
Looks like we got another super chat too.
Let me go up and
we got a lot of super chats.
We got a $5 super chat from Mr. Clown Mode, a loyal subscriber here. How does your GSC beat Thousand Suns, Nick?
I would just charge them. Thousand Suns still weak to charging, and that's what I'm good at.
It's like Drukhari versus Thousand Suns. You just show up, you walk into their deployment zone, and they're dead.
It's like all their buffs are like...
They have no screens.
They have no screens, which is something GSC wants to see. They have no defense in combat aside from the old-fashioned 5 up invul, and if you want to buff a unit. But I can chew through that. I do hit pretty hard with this army, so I feel pretty good in that one. And also, I can take Secret to the last, Secret TTL, make it a secret. They'll never figure it out, and then
it's actually Pierce the Veil.
And then it's Pierce the Veil. I wouldn't take Pierce the Veil with Thousand Suns, but I would take Secret TTL. And what are they gonna do? Run across the table and punch my patriarch? No, they're not.
They're just not.
They're not.
It's not. It's sad. Then we got a $5 super chat from Mr. Matt. Oh, Sisters hype. Also, GW announced 5 more US Open events for Mr. Seeks to win. Hope to make a few this year.
Well, that's super exciting. Thank you so much for your support. I'm sure all of the Art Award team, or at least most of us, will be at those GW US Open events. I know I will be commentating them.
They were the most fun because honestly, when we went to the Games Workshop events, it's typically it's very regional.
Yeah.
Not a ton of people were traveling from all over the place. You always obviously have those top players who want to travel and do well at the events, but it was a lot of new players at the events and a lot of people who only play a couple events a year. They got to go to these events and they had a great time, and we got to meet a lot of community members we typically don't get to interact with.
It's also, they do an amazing job selecting the venues. They're in like really nice, like really good hotels. Yep. They excellent accommodations. I think they do a lot of money and stuff making sure it runs smoothly. I had a great time at all of them. It's also, they pick fun cities. It's good locations.
Exactly. Games Workshop, can we get our check now? So
that's your endorsement for today.
There we go. Now we got Dave Steve here with a $2 super chat. Hot takes on the data slate changes. So people in chat are mentioning stuff. I did not see anything on the Warhammer community page. So if somebody wants to tell me exactly where I can find this, all I see is the announcement of the US Open events.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
So if there's a data slate hanging around, let us know where to find it. Otherwise, we'll keep going. But I'm keeping my eyes to chat. Tell me where to find it. All right. So that was AdMech. I agree. Like, if you take 99% AdMech players, the faction is quite a bit less powerful, but at its peak, it's up here. Now, Black Templars, it's an army we saw for quite a couple months when after the rules came out. Like, they got some darn good rules. They got the big neophyte bricks. They got great defense on there. They got some really interesting upgrades on their units, like a potential fight last, or they got the once per game 4-up invuln on the unit. They got feel no pains.
And don't forget, before Custodes and GSC came out, before LVO, we were seriously considering Black Templars being like that good. They were hanging with Drukhari. They're beating up Drukhari.
Yep. They got a Fire and Fade essentially stratagem, which you go towards the closer objectives, so it's very easy to pull off. They've got some very good tools. They're great with Eradicators, with the defensive buffs you can put on there.
I do agree. I would say they're hanging out with Drukhari and Sisters, honestly. My GSC, I played the matchup once. Unfortunately for my opponent, it was his first tournament game ever, so the skill gap was a little big. But I noticed GSC having fundamental problems with the durability of Black Templars. Like, had he been more experienced, that would have been a very challenging game. So I think Black Templars can hang.
I also agree. In my opinion, the best thing about the Black Templars is the fact that they can still play that base Marine style of where we want to create that defensive triangle, and they have very good OBSEC bodies here. They have great characters support behind. They do lack speed, and so their third secondary is difficult. And Jack found that out. Like, getting the Retrieve Nachman's not consistent, and against some armies you just can't take banners because you're going to get not a great score on it. So they have a very similar problem of that third secondary is tough, but like Custodes do, they're just not as powerful as Custodes.
Yeah.
But I think they are the best Marine faction, and turns out they're the most recent one, so no surprise there. They do have legitimate 9th edition rules. I think one of the things holding back Black Templars is the base Marine data sheets. The cost of them influence the cost of what Black Templar units are. And so if Marines get points decreases or an update, I think Black Templars will be seriously very strong. I agree. I think I would put them in A tier.
Yeah, I think you could I think they can go in front of Drukhari because Drukhari got nerfed again.
AdMech has a serious advantage into Black Templars because it's a slow army that walks in the middle of the table, and AdMech is perfect at killing that. They'll like, I'm going to cripple you in shooting, then cripple you in combat.
Yeah, it's like the worst matchup.
We played that in the War Room, and that's what influenced Jack not to take them to LVO.
But what about Black Templars versus Sisters? I think that's a pretty even game.
Sisters have more trading resources.
They do.
We saw this in the War Room as well. In fact, so the Sisters went into the Black Templars, and the Black Templars, that turn where they have the Feel No Pain and the 4-up invuln up, if they just swing a little too positive, it's tough for Sisters.
That's what I imagine. The durability might... Sisters have a ceiling to how hard they hit, unfortunately.
I think Drukhari has an advantage just in the number of trading pieces.
Speed.
Yeah, and the speed. And also their secondary play, so I'd put them here.
Okay, I'll buy that. We kept trying Thick City. We played the Thick City versus Black Templar match at least 75 times. By we, I mean Adam Camilleri and Jack.
Yeah.
But maybe the normal Drukhari list will have a more flexible play to it.
All right, I found the Reddit thread, guys. We will look at this towards the end of the stream.
What is all this?
Apparently there was some leaked data slate that Games Workshop posted and took down, so we'll focus on that at the end because people want to talk about it.
Okay.
And maybe it'll influence the rankings here. John, if you want to come in here.
No.
He's looking at us.
John's got the look.
John, why are you looking?
What are we talking about?
This apparently leaked data.
The balanced data sheet was photoshopped by the dudes in that Warp Time Discord, and they just put it all over Reddit to see who would click on it.
Interesting. So it's
real.
just fake?
It's literally just fake.
Makes sense to me.
Cool.
It's just made up.
You guys are getting debated.
This is what happens when people on the internet have too much time on their hands.
Way
too much time. It's a little bit sad.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's get back into this tier list. We've got Harlequins. Nick,
Harlequinos.
tell me about Harlequins. Brand new. Hot off the press.
Harlequins are pretty good. Harlequins, I have not actually played a game with mono Harlequins yet. I played 2 games with them as detachments in my Craftworld army. I've also seen Harlequins as a mono faction when I wasn't involved in the game. And they are something else. Holy crap. Luck dice changed the army fundamentally because you got a lot tougher. Harlequins are already weirdly tough because 4-up invulns are weird, but then now your vehicles, all of them across the board, -1 to hit, no rerolls, so good luck. And then, all right, here's my melta cannon going through. It's gonna do like flat 6 plus 100 damage, and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna use my luck die to pass that save. It doesn't cost me command points. Did I mention? I didn't. Dark fights on death. Army-wide.
It's no roll like the normal rolls. It used to be like a 4-up, you get to make an attack. It's just you fight with the whole model.
You just fight with the whole, like all of your troops are actually quite slappy now. You buy them a weapon, they do weird amounts of mortal wounds, ignoring invul sometimes depending on your strats. Strength 4, AP 2, AP 3 in the first round of combat, 2 damage. Oh, you tried to trade into me, you're dead too. It wasn't a trade. Look at that. It's just, you know the basic move where you charge a unit, and you kill them, and then you take the objective they were on, you're like, aha. Now no one holds that objective. Or like 1 troop survived because 4 up invuls and -1 wound from the Shadow Seer, -1 attack from the same Shadow Seer, and then 1 troop lived. I'm OBSEC. You're dead. Oh crap! It's just insane. And then Void Weavers. I personally am of the opinion that Harlequins are the best army in the game. Like Tau, I get it. Custodes, I hear you. Even Craftworlds, their friendly neighborhood brother sister thing, I get it. Harlequins are something else. IMO.
Nick wrote like a 1,700 point list and like, this is seeming really, really strong. I have everything in here. And then Adam was like, well, you still got like another 300 points to play around.
We wrote a list together on the part 2 of the Down Under podcast for subscribers only in the Worm section. But towards the end of it, I was writing my list. He was like, Nick, write a Harlequin list. I'm like, okay, I've been working on one in my head, but let's put pen to paper. I just read it out to him. I was like, it's got a Troop Master, it's got a Shadow Suit, it's got this, it's got that. And I just maxed it out. I was like, I want 6 Void Weavers, put 6 of those in. I want 6 Starters, put 6 of those in. Give all my troops weapons. He's like, okay, Nick, you got 300 left. And I'm like, what do you mean I have 300? I expected you to say 300 over. What is this? What's that, a solitaire?
Yeah, let's get all the Death Jesters in there.
Right, it's insane. I don't know what to say.
I think this is the strongest book that they've released, period. And I think Harlequins are probably the strongest part of it. Craftworld is very strong.
This is not to take away from
it's like apples and oranges. You like them both, but man, it's hard to decide.
I think I enjoy the play style of regular Craftworlds more than the play style of new Harlequins. The MSU shooting, I actually really like that take and not trade kind of style that Eldar do. And the reason I'm putting Craftworlds ahead is because Eldar maybe shoot for 1 turn, and then the whole army gets charged by Harlequins, and the game's over.
Yeah, the mirror matchup is going to be wild. We're going to find out.
We're going to find out next week in the war, and we're going to put the Harlequins versus the Craftworlds. This is all conjecture right here.
Agree.
I'm feeling it.
Let me just give you an example of why this is this order. So I shot into fully buffed crisis unit, right? That scary crisis unit that's doing all sorts of damage to everything nowadays.
Yeah.
All right, it's got ignore modifiers. I had 3 models within 12 inches, so 3 models got to shoot without the light debuff. Mm-hmm. And in addition, they had their flamers all got the shot. This Void Reaver unit. And I was expecting with reroll wounds on there that, hey, I'll probably kill 2 of these here, and at least I'll get close to killing 2. And I did 4 damage total from the whole unit.
Like with everything.
All the airbursts
I didn't put
and 3
CP
flamers.
into making them tougher.
No,
he was within 12.
There was no luck of the Laughing God.
I wasn't even playing mono Harlequins. This is as an ally.
So no rerolls. Just rerolls. 4 damage.
It's a crisis unit.
It's the full 5-man with all the buffs.
I have 12 heroes and 300 points left.
Yeah. It's like, okay. The Harlequins are legitimately insane.
If it makes you feel any better, this makes me feel better. We are working directly with GW to hopefully identify potential problems and then correct them as quickly as possible. Not as playtesters. The rules have already been released, just as people. Yeah. So Space Wolves. Let's talk about the puppy people of the world.
So
Hunter won Best Space Wolves.
Hunter won Best Space Wolves, beating out Jaime, and
we like Hunter and Jaime.
We like them both. They're great people.
So we should put them next.
The Great Wolves.
The Great Wolves.
Now, they suffer from the same thing as Space Marine data sheets just aren't that good, and the Space Wolf rules, they have some good ones.
Good rules. Fight last, exploding 6s. They got
6-inch heroic intervention. It's good. Problem is, they just don't have enough stuff, and man, are the screening tools that you can put in some of the armies up here, and the trade pieces that they have, just too efficient.
They're also kind of not fast enough. Like, you take your 3 units of Vanguard vets, and they're, like, of adequate speed. Not fast, of adequate speed.
Yeah, no advance in charge.
And then everybody else is like, well, what are we doing? And then you can't be a slow army in 40k, because that just doesn't work. I think they are about as good as vanilla Marines. I think they are probably worse than White Scars, better than Dark Angels, so I'll put them right there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we've seen that they murder Dark Angels pretty effectively. Like Dark Angels walks in the center of the table and then gets hit by a Space Wolf army. But they don't have great play into the stuff up here.
Tyranid
it's an
time?
uphill battle. At least when we take the highest skill cap.
Yeah. I think it's Tyranid time.
Tyranids. So they have two main archetypes.
Yeah, there's the Forces build, which is like kind of very similar to the Swarmlord Kraken build, where you have your Hive Guard in the back doing indirect fire, and you're doing board control with fast-moving Genestealers and hitting stuff really hard as it comes to you, shooting Devour Gaunts and screening. That's a great army. Then you have Crusher Stampede, which is just like 12 monsters or 6 of them, or how many you take, and they have good stats and they run at you and they kill you. I personally think the Forces build is much better. I also like balanced armies a lot better because I think they're more balanced. I think the Forces build can be adapted to actually hang with some of S tier. Like, I think it could actually hang with Custodes. I think it could hang with certain Craftworld builds, certain Harlequin builds. I think it's going to struggle immensely with indirect fire because it always does. And Tau and Craftworld just bring the indirect fire, so that sucks. I think Tyranids of every variety can hang in that A tier. Where in A tier? Probably right below Admech is where I put them. I think they're stronger than Drukhari and Templars and all that.
I'd put them ahead of Admech because Hive Guard is the best unit in that matchup, and it completely changes how Admech has to play.
I'll buy that. All right, Tyranids top of A. Would you put them at bottom of S? I think top of A.
Top of A. I do think Hive Guard is still broken, but I think that's one of the few things that's compared to the stuff up here. It's not even close to specifically the Eldar stuff. It's just insanity. When you're like, oh, Hive Guard's pretty scary indirect. How about if I just have a massive amount of volume and it just doesn't matter?
Yeah.
And you can't shoot the rest of my army. So at least you can kill stuff with Tyranids. And I feel like they just lose the indirect war up here.
Yeah.
Because Tau can take the Hive Guard unit to the face and then respond.
Yeah.
And you just run out of screens very quickly. So, but I do think they're a bit stronger than the stuff up here. They have the screening tools to stop these melee armies and make it hard for them, and then they have the shooting to prevent Admech from doing what they want to.
Yeah.
So they have an advantage there.
So then that brings us to Grey Kniggets, one army dear to my heart, and Siegs. I think, so again, another army that they haven't changed at all, but the world keeps changing around them. I lied. They lost to Dread Knight. They got nerfed a little bit, and the world keeps changing around them. And Interceptors went up 2 points in model. That's rough. They are still really good at hunting down Drukhari. That's still a positive match for them despite the nerfs, because both armies got nerfed there. They are really rough into Black Templars because it's just too tough for them to actually handle, and the anti-psychic defense is brutal. I think they're pretty fine into Sisters. It's always been a pretty good match for them. GSC, I think they're fine to GSC because that teleportation makes it very hard for GSC to play through turn 1.
Yeah.
And then if you get good momentum on GSC, it's very hard to come back. How do you feel about Grey Knights versus Necrons?
So it really depends on what the Grey Knight builds are, but their shooting is okay. But with Necrons, you really want multiple. You want a big unit that just does tons of damage, and now they kind of are splitting between different ones, and that's not great into Necrons. Also, Necrons hit exceptionally hard. Like all the intercessors, they're all dead if you start hitting them with wraiths and the other stuff. Flayed ones are also problematic now for them. Big bricks especially, because they're just -1 to hit, and their ability to fight twice and get up the board is very strong. So if you want to do the trading, you can't really trade effectively into the Necron army when it's sitting in the middle of the board, because you want to get your psychic action done. You want to move block, but the Necron army can just jump over and fly over. Yeah. And fight last is also something Necrons have an advantage over the Grey Knights on. Right. We'd have to play it out. Like, Necrons don't have an obscene amount of shooting, so they're not killing the Dread Knights that easily, but it's just the Silent King, really. But I would count on them killing all the infantry very quickly, and the infantry is what actually wins you the game as Grey Knights, in my opinion.
I agree. The Dread Knights are just, like, there to shoot and kill stuff. The infantry scores the points.
Yeah, they also don't like -1 to wound on the Scorpex.
Right.
So.
I think Grey Knights can be in A tier, because I think they can hang with a lot of A tier, but it's not that easy. I think they're...
Yeah, they were hurt by... They can't take the 2 Brotherhoods now, so they're stuck with 1, so they lose a really nice tech choice. And now they only have 1 Grandmaster, which means you have to... If you want more of the psychic redundancy, because the characters get that extra discipline, you need to take a less efficient character, and that's a lot of points. Right. It's like a whole Interceptor squad. So, it's tough.
All right, Jack Snacks with the Blood Angels. I think they are still worse than White Scars, and they are still about as good as Space Wolves, and they are better than Black Templars or Dark Angels. I think they belong in between Space Wolves and Space Marines.
I can agree with that.
And
They're a fast melee army that hits all of these extremely hard and just wins against them.
Them and Space Wolves are like the same army in my brain.
Yeah, I think White Scars are better, and Space Wolves hit a lot harder and have better tricks. I think in the melee.
But the Blood Angels have heroic sacrifice, and that's amazing. In Death Company are very good. I think the speed, I give it to Blood Angels actually, not in a head-to-head. I think Fight Less is very good in a head-to-head, but the speed gives Blood Angel the edge because Death Company can be a border control.
So you want to put them over?
I think so.
Okay. But not ahead of White Scars.
Not ahead of White Scars. White Scars are... I still think White Scars are amazing, but not amazing enough, unfortunately. YOLO White Scars, though, they're something else.
Death Guard.
I think they're in C tier, and they're having a good fight with Chaos Demons for who's top of it.
So, they got nerfed for some reason. Except Plague Burst Crawlers, which got buffed. This is one of their pretty good units. Except, it's hilarious, because they were buffed by points decreased, the Plague Burst Crawlers, but now they're not to the last targets.
Oh my, it was a nerf. It was
Yeah,
a
so it's
nerf.
like a secret. It's like not exactly what you wanted. Yeah, they just don't do a ton. Like, the Foul Blight Spawn was a good tool, and then everybody figured out that you let it affect you. You charge, like, the Rhino or some nonsense nearby, and then you activate the unit and just swing against whatever you want. And that means it's not that good anymore.
It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work how they wanted it to work, based on how they changed the fight rules. So
And the reason for that is because the Foul Blight Spawn makes you count as not charging. So normally you're only able to attack things you charge.
you declare charges against.
However, if I just charge your Rhino, and then I count as not charging, so your Rhino's going to activate first. Okay, it's a Rhino. Who cares? Then I get to activate my unit, but because I don't count as charging, I'll just pile in 3 inches and put all my good attacks into your Terminators.
Yeah, it's like, this doesn't function how it. So like even one of their best tools doesn't quite do what it should be doing.
Yeah.
Terminators went up, the Poxwalkers went up. They just don't do very much, and they're slow on top of it. They're definitely worse than Thousand Suns. Mortarion is just not great into all the armies up here.
It's interesting because they do still just kick the crap out of like regular Space Marines. Blood Angels,
do they?
Space, I think they turn off rerolls. In
No, they
12-inch
don't. You
aura.
got smashed by Blood Angels last time.
I played it all wrong.
I don't think that would have helped.
I also had a not good list.
I think they're better than the demon build.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think their data sheets are just better.
Yeah, sure.
But
we'll put them there. I think that's a fine choice.
they don't do much.
We got the Wa. Orcs are interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
They have a few different builds. They have the math build, which is still just speed freaks. Here's my guns, maximum. They also have a good trickery because they did the last options in the form of Death Coptas who go into reserve and move after they attack. So they got huge fire and fade plays. So you can make an interesting mission-y math orc list. I've seen it go first and just completely table people. I really have, even still after the buggy nerfs. I've seen it go second against the wrong thing and just die in its deployment zone. And then there's also the Mark Perry style of orcs, which is just turn one, charge you with my whole army, maximum pressure, maximum all the time. None of those builds really even have a conversation with S tier.
We've seen it.
They're not up there.
No.
So are they in A tier? I don't think orcs really... Well, maybe. What do you think?
So it would be bottom because I don't think they're as good as these armies anymore. Can they hang with Necrons and Grey Knights? They can hang with Necrons, I think.
They can hang with Grey Knights too, honestly.
Grey Knights aren't that overbearing now. So
I used to have like very close games with the Mark. With his
the Goth build puts a ton of pressure on you. The problem is against the armies up here, they have amazing screening units, and the Orcs just don't hit that hard, especially when you can like turn off rerolls or have minus attack. Like Shadowkeepers just straight up shuts down Orcs as a thing. Drukhari still trade a little too efficiently because the Orc shooting's unreliable at popping transports. Same problem into Sisters. How do you feel about GSC into Orcs?
It's shaky because every game with GSC feels shaky. You know, I like don't deploy and everything could just go sideways, and I don't know how the game is gonna unfold because I'm playing Genestealer Cults. So I'm never gonna be like I just win that, except for Thousand Suns. But I think it's totally doable. I think it's perfectly tenable. I don't know. Maybe top of B, maybe bottom of A.
You think they have an advantage into Grey Knights, or?
I think they're pretty dead even with Grey Knights. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty even with Grey Knights.
But like, that's in the head-to-head. I don't think they're placing them.
I don't know.
Let's put them there.
Okay, we can put them around Deathwatch. I think they have.
They can get. They probably lose to Deathwatch because Deathwatch hates Xenos, but they're fine into Marine.
If you get hit by the Meganobs early, you can.
That's true. That's true. You can lose momentum. Over here,
Craftworld
Aeldarians. Well, let me tell you what happens when you get an army-wide fire and fade. You don't get shot back. Let me tell you what happens when you add teleportation to Swooping Hawks and Balroth. They don't get shot back or charged. And let me tell you what happens when you add spiders into the mix, because they don't get charged or shot. Well, then you have this army that shoots really hard because you just spam Strength 6 indirect fire, Strength 7 indirect fire, and Strength 6 AP2 shooting. And then the whole army can just deep strike and go into strategic reserve on command.
Or redeploy.
And then it also moves 20 inches. So it's everywhere all around you at all times. You can't interact with it, and you're getting shot very hard. But it's okay. If you get there, it's fine. Right now, if you get there, then you deal with 100 mortal wounds from the 3 Farseers they're packing, plus potentially death from Corandris, plus potentially death from Howling Banshees. So, what is somebody to do? I don't know. They're an S tier.
Yeah, everything about this book is good. There's so many options you could.
Excuse you, Siegs. The Corsairs and Ynnari beg to differ.
I forgot they were even things.
Well, they're in the book.
They are in the book. But Craftworld specifically, almost everything is strong. The good stuff, all the aspects are good. The Exarch powers are insanity. The one Shining Spear guy just full rerolls to hit and wound mortals on 5, just 1,000 attacks. Yeah. So, warp spiders with their ability where you can't really charge them. They get 2d6 battle focus. This is army-wide battle focus.
Yesterday in the stream game, you guys were playing. John, you were like, how many attacks do the Banshees have? And John was like, each one has 3. The Exarch has 10. Hers are damage 2.
Yeah, it's like, okay. And then he's like, the other Exarch, she does tons of mortals. Like, okay.
All right.
Seems relatively good.
So we played Eldar versus Tau in the war room yesterday. We played it twice now. Brad played it in the finals of the RTT. He played his first shot at Craftworlds versus Siegs' normal competitive Farsight list. And that was a close game, but you won that one, Siegs?
I was able to win it. Brad made some pretty critical positioning mistakes.
Yeah, still new to the book and all that.
Yeah.
And then I played a game with a just purely mathed out Harlequin Eldar army. It was just, let me take the maximum amount of guns. No respect to the mission or tactics whatsoever. And then you played Triple Storm Surge for that.
Oh, yeah. Sasaya Storm Surge.
And we found out that
going first is pretty damn important.
And when you take 2 math armies, the person who punches first and gets the momentum, really the momentum of positioning, not even so much the damage, but the positioning momentum was too big of a hill for the other army to climb. Because Eldar is so fast, and Triple Storm Surges ain't slow either. So they get on top of you, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, I think if you just do a little bit less math and a little more move blocking to just keep your math alive, then it's very Eldar favored.
Yeah.
Based on what I saw.
And I haven't played Eldar into Custodes. I haven't seen Eldar into Custodes, but I don't see
Doom. My God,
I don't see what Custodes are gonna do about that. So it's just also the speed; they're never gonna catch anything. So I think Harlequins and Craftworlds are the conversation we're having. Interesting, and I don't think Eldar actually match up well into Harlequins because Harlequins are they do it all. They're faster than you. They're better at combat than you. They fight you on death in combat.
They're shoot even harder with Void Weavers?
I wouldn't say they shoot harder, but relative to Eldar, who have short-range shuriken spam, they really hate the no rerolls to hit. Eldar love rerolling it. They really hate
only hitting on 4s.
Eldar, they don't mind that so much compared to other armies, but a lot of Eldar's abilities stack when you add Guide or Chapter Master, get reroll hits for 6's auto hit, 6's explode, 6's auto wound. Taking a lot of that efficiency away is huge. And then minus 6 inch range from the Shadow Seer power makes you get too close to the Harlequins to do damage, then the Harlequins kill you. So I think in the head-to-head, the Harlequins should be favored, although the indirect fire might keep them honest. So it's a game. We're putting it on for you in the work.
The boats are pretty tough from what we've seen. They're so tough. Like, the indirect fire might kill 1 a turn.
Yeah.
That's just not enough, I feel.
So maybe I would say Craftworld's above Tau, below Harlequins.
I absolutely agree. I think they are the 2 strongest factions in the game right now. I think the community, we've been seeing a lot of people, kind of cautious on Eldar, like waiting to see. Let us tell you, this book is insanity. This is the strongest book that's been released by far, and it's not really even that close, in my opinion. I think when we finally master the builds, which we're going to be doing a lot of that over this week, they're going to be a lot. You think 70% win rate's high. Well, we're coming for you.
We're coming for that.
So those books are in because the biggest thing is there's a lot of uninteractivity up here.
That's the thing.
And these two exemplify that. They have such durability and defensive mechanics with the rerolls and the turning off your rerolls. You can only hit on 4s, minus to hit, where you don't really do enough and then they hit you because they're so fast. Or you just have army-wide battle focus and I just teleport after I shoot and charge you.
And indirect fire.
And you're just not interacting with their army. Like you saw that in the game I played against Necrons. I was able to stay in the mission a bit just because I had some relatively durable things. Yeah. But man, if I was GSC, I would just got absolutely tabled.
Someone did.
Yeah. So, but I had no chance of winning that game. I couldn't interact with his damage.
Yeah, so I think this is a problem, like a real problem for the meta. I don't think it's the sky is falling, the world is over problem. And that's not because I'm telling you to just play better with your bloodletters. I'm saying this because Games Workshop has been really, really, really receptive and proactive to listening to community feedback. And as someone who talks to the people I talk to, I genuinely believe they're going to address this problem with haste. So I hope they do. I expect them that they will, and that's the most we can ask for, I suppose.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like because of how interactive they are, they're forcing you to have indirect fire, and that's just not healthy for the rest of the game over here. So it's like a cascading effect. And I do want to point out, though, look at this. This is very different from what was down here in the past.
A and B are looking healthy.
A, essentially for us, this is a strong competitive army with tools to win into most matchups. Yeah. That's just a great place to be.
Not much is broken here, if anything. Crusher's a little skewed into broken, but other than that, it's like
it's really double shooting Hive Guard that like lets them do a little too much damage potentially.
And then Space Marines, Orks, and Thousand Suns Knights, they all hang with each other. They can all punch up to beat the armies above in A tier. Maybe it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but they're all capable. Black Templars snuck up there.
Yeah, some nice points increases to some key units here, and a little bit tailored towards increasing the diversity of their builds, so it's not just like one potential build. Right. That would go a long way to bringing these armies up.
The Space Marines are showing their age a little bit. All.
These armies in C tier need points decrease. They need real help, and then these need dramatic rules help. And guess what? They're the 9th edition. They're the 8th edition codexes.
C and D tier are made of armies that are 8th edition codexes in Death Guard. And Death Guard, I'm sorry, someone does have to be the bottom of the totem pole. I got nothing better to say there. Yep. But the rest of those armies, they're just waiting for updates. So hopefully they get some, and then we get a healthier A and a healthier B tier, and then we tone down S just a little bit because. Well, maybe Harlequin's another block in Tau, but
I mean, a good amount.
Down, and then
tone them down a good amount, like they did with Drukhari and Admech. Enough that they're consistently down here, and these armies can punch up and still beat them.
Because at this point, I think Drukhari and Admech are good armies. I think they're healthy for the game. I don't think they're oppressive, really. I think they're perfectly fine. The oppression comes from S tier, so let's bring those back in.
Yep. Do some nice targeted buffs to help bring these ones up. Bring all of these down to here, and then give these armies actual real considered help.
Yeah.
Like they did with Necrons. Necrons were down here.
Well, let's look at it. We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 armies in the game, and 16 of them are in a very healthy spot with respect to each other. So we've gotten 2/3 of the game pretty well balanced so far, which is the most any time in history this has ever been.
Yeah, usually it's 4 armies up here, and then there's a bunch of armies down here.
Yeah, there's the C and D tier are like a lot bigger historically than this. S tier, it's around 3 to 4 typically, 2 to 3. So it's a little high. We could tone the power in, but I'm really happy with the state of the game, minus S tier being a little too high. But we have a light at the end of that tunnel.
These are the brand new books that have come out. They have not received the balanced data slate, although for some reason Custodes had points decreases in the last one. So if they can just do another balanced data slate and the next chapter approved and really address this stuff while helping these ones, I think the game will be in a nice state going into the summer.
And we got a 50 Swedish kroner super chat, not US dollars. Thank you for your support, Jonas Anderson. I got Cam, Death Guard, CSM, Death Guard, and Demons. What would you go for, and what would differ in teams? CSM, Death Guard, and Demons. Oh, what a package. I would probably make a team build of Splitting Hearts if I were you personally, and just try to be the defender and go out there and take one for the team, because you're not going to crush the other armies. You're going to mitigate loss. And that is a real definition in teams, mitigating loss. It's a real role. As far as singles go, tuck your head and enjoy it. Paint some stuff. It's going to be rough.
Paint up all the stuff you don't have, and hopefully Chaos gets some good rules.
Yeah.
But we also got a $5 super chat from Mr. Clown Mode here. Would Eldar be broken without indirect? I think Harlequins proved that yes.
Harlequins would still be. I built an Eldar list that doesn't have indirect at all. It was like a combat janky character, weird Eldar list, just because I wanted to see what it would look like. And it felt like totally in line with power of like A-tier stuff.
The thing about the indirect is it doesn't just table you in a turn or two now. It's the consistent, I'm going to kill all your easy mission objective holding stuff, and then you're left with just a core that has to deal with the entire Eldar army.
Yeah, it's the fact that the indirect is usually so immobile, so you can use that against an indirect player by defending them in the corner, but then the rest of the Eldar army is everywhere. So
and it's battle focusing and fire and fading and moving 6 extra inches all over the place.
Playing all 4 corners at once.
All 4 corners, yeah. Balharoth is in your corner, and then he's going to charge, kill you off your objective, and then get back in his corner.
Baby B.
So, it's the non-interactivity. If they can just reduce that and really target some specific nerfs there, I think it'll go a long way to helping make the game at least interactive, because with Admech and Drukhari, you were at least killing them. If you look at the trading kind of top table games from last season, even though these armies had the high win percentage, they weren't just sitting there with most of their army intact the entire game.
They were it felt like Admech and Drukhari had more stuff than you.
Yeah.
It feels like Eldar and Harlequins also have more stuff than you.
And they have better
rules. So it's like doubly broken.
So we are definitely on the point that we want to help fix this. So, we're going to do our best to, be vocal and try and help the game.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this too. Let us know if you agree, disagree, like puppies. Like, share, comment, subscribe.
If you're a huge Death Guard fan.
You can argue for B tier with us. If you're upset about my Thousand Suns placement, tell Siegs. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you later.
All right, we'll see you next time, everybody. So long.
So many rules in 40K, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.